So, my first question for you today, George, is considering your extensive background with Lunation and AI innovation, can you elaborate on how Lunation's platform specifically caters to the transformation needs of PE backed companies?
Yeah, it's a great question. Here's the way I think about it, and maybe a little bit of background for the listeners too. Transformation is hard, right? It's a hard thing to do in companies. Again, you're going in and you're trying to, redirect a company to do things differently. Sometimes those initiatives can be around how they're engaging with customers. Sometimes it relates to what their operational footprint might look like. It usually involves adoption of technology, changing of processes, et cetera. The part of transformation that's probably not well known, but has been documented by firms like McKinsey and BCG and others, is that about 70% of business and digital transformations fail to meet their financial goals. So, transformation programs generally are not successful in the market. The failure rate is due to a lot of different things. It can be from poor planning to kind of poor prioritization of what you're working on. There's some pretty big issues around you're asking people and companies to do things where maybe they don't have the skills or the time to do them, frankly. A lot of companies, frankly, particularly global companies, can be somewhat weak on collaboration. Some companies don't provide incentives for people to own and to drive specific transformation initiatives. And then there's a host of other factors that just come in. It's, the old adage, life happens as you're doing these transformations that impact the overall success rate. What's interesting when you look at the failure rate, just to throw out some data, for last year, there was an estimated $1.2 trillion globally wasted on digital and business transformations. So if you think about that for a minute, it's a huge number. It's a big problem. And that number really includes things like the level of investments that companies have been putting into these initiatives, et cetera. It includes an element of software purchases where they bought a software package and it really didn't work out the way they planned. Could include additional infrastructure stood up, et cetera. Anyway, it's a really big number. So part of the reason that we started Lunation was to help companies be more successful in transformation and to really lower that number. We've got a really good track record from Quadrillion over the last 15 years doing business and digital transformation. I always like to say Lunation is the tool I wish I had at Quadrillion 15 years ago, and definitely in my role as chief transformation officer at a number of these companies. Because really, what Lunation does, very simply, is it allows you to plan and orchestrate your transformation programs in a real systematic way. So again, some of the root causes of failure have to do with kind of poor planning up front, have to do with poor coordination as you get the programs going. Lunation solves a lot of those core problems. So, very simply, what Lunation does is it gives companies the ability to collaborate on ideas and then to score and rank those ideas and then to convert those ideas to initiatives as part of a transformation program. You then define what we call transformation artifact plan, or a TAP, and I'll talk some more about that. And that TAP then gets iterated on by the team, gets developed, and then goes through an approval process. And then Lunation gives you the ability to collaborate and track success against that initiative, and also to take corrective actions as you need. And we've kind of built this in a cloud platform. From our perspective, it's the tool that if you're a chief transformation officer or an operating partner in a private equity fund, maybe you run a strategy group at an independent company, maybe you're the CFO. It's a tool set you really want to have because it gives you the ability to have your pulse on everything that's happening around the transformation. And again, transformations are a bit, I'll use a bad analogy maybe, they're a bit like a kayak going down a river, right? You never quite know what rocks you're going to hit. You never know how fast you're going to go. And the goal with Lunation is to give you that visibility so you can take corrective action. And Lunation, I think fundamentally, as we've tested it and as we start to roll it out, we're seeing significant improvements in overall cycle time in terms of companies' abilities to execute on initiatives faster. And I think a lot of that is because it's workflow driven, it's role driven, and you have that visibility really across the company, which today there's no tool that does that.
So, George, I'd like to circle back on something you'd mentioned there regarding high failure rates on digital transformations. And you talk about the idea of proper investment, operational footprint, needed process changes, proper prioritization, proper collaboration. How do you believe AI-driven solutions are redefining value creation for private equity firms in the current market?
Yeah, it's a great question. Here's the way I think about it. I think it's a tale of two cities here, right? So on the one hand, I think PE funds and the deal partners and operating partners and even some of the limited partners that I keep in contact with and speak with regularly, I think they're worried about AI because they're kind of uncertain on how AI may impact their portfolio companies, right? So the first way I think about this in almost a classic strategy sense is that AI solutions can really disrupt business models in portfolio companies, right? So it's a bit of a blind spot and it's a bit of an unknown. But the concept here is that everybody's kind of new to AI, at least at some level. And what you're seeing in a lot of markets is kind of new incumbents, new companies coming up in those markets that are really challenging some of the established players based on their new AI technology, right? And that's a real risk for a private equity investor, and that's something that I think keeps LPs, it keeps deal partners, it keeps general partners and operating partners up at night, because if you have an incumbent in a market that has an AI solution that's kind of challenging your portfolio company, that could mean that the valuation of your portfolio company may go down over time. That's a bit risk. And then, you don't want your portfolio company to be viewed in the market as what I'll just characterize as a digital laggard, right? So that's the one side of it in terms of how AI solutions are kind of impacting, value and value creation in private equity. I think the flip side of that coin is that I think AI represents an enormous opportunity for private equity investors as well as operating partners and general partners. The nuance here is getting the portfolio company leaders to embrace AI technology to drive efficiency, to drive in speed, and to drive customer engagement, is really important. And I think the challenge with AI, like a lot of tools and capabilities that kind of emerge in the world over time, is that you're not sure, on AI, unlike other tools like kind of classic software, you're not really sure on AI if it's going to deliver the results you want, frankly, until you build the AI, until you train the AI, until you start to methodically measure the outcomes, right? So it's not like traditional software where you knew, okay, if I put in this ERP, just based on everybody else's experience in the world, I know I'm going to be able to improve efficiency in the organization. I know I'm going to get better data, et cetera. AI is kind of not like that. AI is a bit more R&D-ish in a sense. So the prescriptive view that I have of AI around AI-driven solutions and defining value creation is it's all about piloting AI projects, right? So you have to look at, and I think what I've seen a number of private equity funds do, which I think is very effective, is look at the business model of the company and have kind of a 100,000-foot discussion about where could we deploy AI in this business to make a material difference in performance. And really what that discussion is you're partly having the discussion that says, what drives this business model? And as we look at the drivers of the business model, is it speed? Is it cost? Is it customer intimacy? What is it? Are there areas where we could deploy an AI engine that would improve that business model? And that's the framework that we always encourage clients to start with, because again, this isn't about adopting technology for technology's sake. It's about really understanding the business model and the prioritization, and then focusing the new technology on where it's going to make a material difference in the performance of the company. Again, I think the answer here is it kind of depends on the business model, right? In some cases, AI will really help with speed. In other cases, it may really help with customer intimacy. In other cases, it may really help with cost. I think it just depends on the business, but you need to frame it against the business model in order to really figure out, how it's going to redefine and help augment. It's really an augmentation of your value creation strategies.
Oh, thanks, George. Certainly agreed. AI is in the R&D stage in terms of where it will go practically, and it's just in its infancy now. And I think
Hmm.
PE in general is unsure about AI, and we in fact get questions on the new AI technology all the time. Pretty much on a weekly basis now. So good points there. Maybe getting a little more granular with your track record in maximizing profits through technology. What AI advancements or opportunities specifically do you see as pivotal for operational efficiencies, improvements in portfolio companies?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. And again, it's an important question because if you're a PE operating partner, a general partner at a private equity fund, or even a CEO of a portfolio company, you want to know what's working today and what's not, right? Because there's a range of AI solutions. Some are cutting edge, some are not. The way I think about this is there's three broad groups of AI today, right? So you have what I would characterize as more reactive AI models in the market. So those would include things like chatbots, kind of simple decision making tools. Those are kind of proven, and those are areas where if you're looking at a company where customer service is critical, getting a real powerful chatbot out is a bit of a no brainer, frankly. And in some cases, you can consider it almost table stakes, something you must have out in the market. There's another group of AI solutions that I would call, kind of limited memory type things. So this is your everything from large language models, which obviously have been in the press a lot with ChatGPT, as well as other AI tools that use historical data to make decisions, right? So this is one where you've heard a lot about learning models and things like that, where you have to train the models. This would include predictive analytics, things that might recommend personal solutions out to somebody. So, go buy this, or, you could cross sell this into the customer, et cetera. Those types of AI solutions are really good for improving decision making and forecasting and customer engagement. And they're really become kind of mainstream today. They're still somewhat cutting edge. And as we just said, some of them are R&D related. Some of them are not. So you have to be thoughtful about how you deploy it. But that's the mainstream part of where, AI is today. And then, the next bucket is kind of more the theoretical AI that can do things like respond to emotions and intentions. That part of the AI universe, frankly, is emerging and will emerge over the next few years. That has the potential, I think, to transform customer interactions, HR management in terms of how employees are thinking about their jobs and driving interventions to reduce attrition rates and things of that sort. But that's really nascent technology right now. So the way I think about it is you focus on kind of the limited memory AI segment, which is stuff that's kind of mainstream and proven, but a little bit, R&D ish. If I think about the specifics here, what we see and what we often encourage our portfolio companies, clients to do, and independent companies on the large language model front, which has gotten a lot of attention. Obviously, that can be used in a number of areas to drive speed and cost, right? So, one of the areas that jumps out all the time is marketing, right? So, marketing teams tend to spend a lot of time on collateral development. They spend a lot of time on crafting key marketing messages in emails. They spend a lot of time on various marketing campaigns and tactics. Large language models, ChatGPT or others, frankly, are very, very good at helping you speed up collateral development and also improving it. So that's an area that, again, is almost a no brainer. So, what we see a lot of companies doing is rather than adding another marketing resource to the marketing team, they'll start to aggressively use these large language models because it avoids you having to hire another resource. You could also perhaps trim back some of your costs externally on advertising agencies, et cetera. There's also some tools, like there's one out there called Relume, which we've used at one of my clients, that allows you to develop site maps for websites with, it's almost like a large language model to do that. and then it leverages back-end Webflow capabilities to actually develop the first pass of that website in terms of a Figma design. And then also you can convert that into Webflow very quickly. So in kind of English speak there, what that does is you define the website outline, and then you're able to generate really the full design within seconds, literally within seconds or minutes using this tool. So if you think about, for anybody in the audience who's defined websites in the past, that can be a multi-week process. And what this AI engine allows you to do is to shrink that time to maybe a day. All right. And it's not to suggest that the design that comes out is perfect, because it's not, but it gets you 80% to 90% of the way there. So you've dramatically improved your speed. And from a marketing perspective, the marketing organization then just saved a ton of money by using that, and has gotten out something that they can iterate on, frankly, and improve, very, very clearly. And that's just one example. The other area that I think, other couple areas that are, practical here, we talked about chatbots. So chatbots, typically the goal there is to kind of siphon off, as I call it, calls that are routine, or that interactions that are routine. Chatbots have gotten much better over the last few years. When they were first introduced, they were kind of painful to use. But I think generally now, without human intervention and given the level of training, they can really provide some good customer service for real routine activities. And again, this is one that if you're thinking about value creation in a company, you're thinking about your customer service organization. A lot of private equity firms look at what's called Net Promoter Score, or NPS, which is a measure of customer satisfaction and also kind of referral rates. So the higher your NPS score, it means you're more likely to refer a friend to that company, right? And that's an important metric. Chatbots can help you improve your NPS score. And again, it's a proven technology. Yes, you have to train it, and you have to train it well. But again, it's kind of mainstream, and something that, as you think about value creation, I definitely encourage people to look at. The other area that's emerging that we're seeing in a lot of clients, and I'm happy to talk some more about this, is what I call AI search and discovery. So this is where you train an AI to find things faster than a human being could, usually with far better prioritization, right? So one of the applications we've seen, for example, is in the recruiting space. So companies that maybe rely on recruiting contractors or employees regularly for maybe various jobs, or maybe they're a bit of a matchmaker between buyers and sellers on different human capital. These AI capabilities can be really powerful. So if you think about it, let's take executive search. For those of you that are familiar with executive search firms like Korn Ferry and Heidrick, and there's a lot of great ones out there. Their process often relies on kind of a classic database of candidates, and also having each of the recruiters have a universe of people that they know that they can call around jobs and get referrals and all that stuff. What some of these AI tools allow you to do is to go through a massive database, and to do it in a way that's far faster than a human could, and come up with kind of rank order recommendations of candidates to potentially fill a job, for example, or in some cases even recommend a product. So if you've got a company that has a massive amount of SKUs, I'll give you an example. At On Semiconductor, we had 32,000 SKUs when I was there. And what would happen is engineers would go to our website, and they try to find the right SKU that would go into their test board, that would go into an electronic device. That process is not perfect. What AI lets you do with these AI engines is just put in a few more characteristics, kind of describe what you're looking for, and you'll get a prioritized view of those products, for example, or a prioritized view of those resources that you should look at. And again, you get it instantaneously. So the benefit there is speed, and inherently also cost, right? Because you're providing a service where you don't have to have a lot of incremental human intervention, et cetera. So the AI search and discovery, I think, is an important part. The other part we're seeing a lot of now is the automation of data analysis and insights, right? And this is something that we're actively baking into Lunation as well, where you can ask AI questions either in a large language model format or otherwise, where AI can take data sets and identify trends that maybe you've missed, right? So it'll take a set of KPIs, look at them, and then come back and say, hey, this happened in your sales, or this happened in your gross margin, this happened in your OpEx, this happened here. And oh, by the way, it was with these customers in these channels, blah, blah, blah. So again, really powerful stuff that improves your quality of decision making and improves your speed of decision making. As you think about costs in the organization, a lot of organizations have financial planning and analytics, FP&A resources that kind of do this for a living. It can make those teams a lot more effective, and that's kind of an emerging frontier, if you will, in the analytics. It's actually a hard thing to do from an AI perspective, but I think it's also very important. And then the last area, kind of the fifth area I'll mention here, just around specifics that I think every company should look at is what I just call document management. So, one of the early pre Chat GPT launch areas of AI that was very effective is the concept of taking PDFs and other static files, right? Being able to have a AI engine, machine learning engine, grab that file and scrape the data and put it into a database. And that's really powerful because one, it helps for things like if you have core applications that are kind of not online, you can improve quality and check quality of applications. So let's say you're in the mortgage industry and you're getting a lot of hard copy applications, which the mortgage industry is still very much known for. You can scrape that data and get it into a database. And as you're doing that scraping, identify, oh, this zip code is wrong, and then kick it out in an automated process so that a human can look at it, right? Or you can look at all the data and say, hey, this is correct. We're going to let it go through the rest of our process. So again, I view those document management and kind of the scraping of data off of PDFs by AI engines. That's a bit of table stakes. But again, it's something that a lot of companies don't use. And as we talk to customers about transformation programs and things like that, we always look at elements like that. Because again, the AI universe, it's a spectrum of maturity. So people should think about it in that context. And then some of these things, document management, chatbots, those are kind of almost no brainers. So,
Some great examples of AI trends and possibilities, George. And you mentioned that you are baking into Lunation, looking at KPIs and identifying trends. And because I like case studies and real world examples as learning tools, can you share with our listeners an instance where Lunation's AI capabilities directly contributed to the success of a PE firm's investment strategy?
yeah. So one of the examples that we talk about often is, one of our customers in the tech space. About 75% of their products were sold through distributors, right, and 25% were sold directly to customers. Typically the way they kind of went to market, their go-to-market function was they would provide catalogs. They had both hard copy catalogs you could request. They had an online version you could download, and they also had obviously their website that you could search. And there was kind of a standard price book that was published, and the sales team was involved in that to give distributors pricing on a pretty regular basis. And this was a market where month to month you did have some price changes. So you had to be mindful about whether or not your price book was stale or current, right? And what the company did and what we included in Lunation as part of the program was kind of a new AI tool that the company had built on our recommendation that really allowed it to put kind of all the variations of its products into this AI engine. And the reason we felt that was important and turned out it was, the AI engine was able to improve the ability of customers to do their search based on natural language, to find the products that really fit them faster and with more accuracy. It reduced the need for catalogs. It reduced the need for, customer service intervention about, hey, will this product meet my needs? The other element to it that was really important for this client was it's an engineering oriented company. So engineering time was really valuable. And one of the things that the company wanted to see if they could optimize was the need for engineers to engage with customers regarding product selection, right? It wasn't that they felt that those interactions were bad. In fact, they were quite positive in terms of building relationship. But engineering time being valuable, they wanted to see if there were ways to kind of improve the time that engineers were spending on new products and kind of derivative products, and less on, oh, go select this product. So the concept was really around improving customer search and capability. The other kind of dimension of this, which as they got into the project, was also around product cross-selling. So the concept of, if you select this product, we recommend that you select this product as well, right? So the concept in terms of the trained AI became, okay, if you're going to buy this product, how likely are you to buy this next product? What's the percent of that, right? And we've done a lot of this kind of work with clients over the years, where you look at, I call it, cross sales correlations. So if a customer comes in on a given product, how likely are they to buy the next product? And you can statistically take order databases and develop that. And we've done that a lot. And this client had a good appreciation for that. And they actually embedded in the tool, it's kind of the second version of the tool, a view of not just finding the product that fit your needs, but also suggesting a set of additional products that the customer might want to look at as part of their offering. So again, that really helped with cross-selling. And again, this tool, from a Lunation perspective, this is not a tool we built into Lunation, but it was an initiative that we tracked in Lunation, and worked with the third party to kind of get it developed with the company. They tested it extensively in-house. And again, this is kind of a learning, I think, for listeners here. They tested it in-house with the customer service team first. And, you kind of think, well, why would they do that? Well, customer service knows a lot of the questions that customers ask, right? So here they're really testing the tool. They're training the tool a little bit on the different questions that come in. Once the customer service organization felt, hey, this is a good tool, it's kind of ready for general release to customers, they then kind of embedded it on their website. Also, for some of their more strategic accounts that had individual portals that were used in the company, it was enabled there too, so that those customers could come in and do that search. And it did that nice automated view of kind of cross-selling as well. It's a really big success. This company, just to give you a sense, was around $400 million revenue business each year. It generated, by our estimates, around a 2% uplift in EBITDA, which for a company that has a lot of its products going through distribution is a material number in terms of value creation. So again, that's one that, again, I think some of the learnings I've talked about here in terms of how to approach an AI project, what to look for, you really got to define it well, and then you got to pilot, test, and then roll it out to be successful. And that's a case where, it went really well.